Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Rachel and I am knitting. Not right now, but most of the time. And I have been knitting, so I'm going to tell you all about it. I'm so excited to be podcasting today to you, with you, adjacent to you, whatever, because I'm just so happy. I'm so joyful because you can't really tell right now because I have my blinds closed, well, partially closed, just so I don't get sunburnt or whatever. But anyway, what I'm trying to communicate is I'm so happy because I'm officially in my favorite time of year here in South Louisiana. I know that this is not the experience for a lot of people, but for me here in South Louisiana, when we get into the winter months and even in the early spring months, I am just so happy because for me, it's like the inverse of what many people experience during the winter. It gets darker, daylight is shorter. That can be really difficult for a lot of people's mental health. And I completely understand that. For me, during the summer months and even in like the late spring and early fall, I feel like that is when I'm experiencing the symptoms that a lot of people experience in other parts of the world during the winter. Like we keep the blinds closed and the curtains closed to keep the temperature in the house as cool as possible during the summer. We don't really go outside as much, or at least I don't, because it's just so hot. So now that we're in almost mid-November at this point, it's finally chilly. It's finally cold. It was in the 30s this morning. It's just a gift. So the blinds are open throughout the house. I even have some windows open to burp the house, and I'm just thrilled. I'm just so happy. So happy. Our Christmas tree is set up. I've got some festive decor at my like little workstation, knit station, sit and watch TV station in the living room. The faceless woman robot who lives on our mantle, our bookshelf, the Amazon one. She's programmed to play Christmas music on request. I just am loving the current situation I'm in. I'm home, I'm settled, and now it's really time to start the season of getting cozy. Like I'm wearing a cardigan, a 100% wool cardigan, and I'm comfortable. In fact, I'm still a little cold, which actually leads me to the sponsor of today's video. I didn't even plan that, but this is perfect. I had to get up and go get it from the living room because I keep it in the pocket, or at least lately I've kept it in the pocket of my Lotus chair that Flexi Spot sent me, which by the way, I'm loving. That is my dedicated seat in the living room whenever DJ and I are home together, watching TV, watching a movie, hanging out in the living room. I spent a nice chunk of my morning in that chair, enjoying my coffee, watching a few YouTube videos, podcasts, and anyway, I had to go grab it. But this is a heating pad that Bob and Brad sent me, and it is an electric heating pad that I'm very excited about. So I haven't used it in this chair yet, so I'll have to figure out what the best plug-in situation is for when I use it here. But they very kindly sent me this heating pad. I've made a knot with the cord accidentally. Don't do that when you get yours. But it's electronic. You plug it in and it has a few different heat settings up to a number 6. And you can also set the timing. So I'm just going to set it to 60 minutes and I think I'll just have it warming my lap while I talk to you. But I'm really excited to have this product, and I was so excited when they asked if I wanted to promote it because, I don't know, I've never talked about this on YouTube, but I have a uterus and it tries to kill me every month. It is so rude and inconsiderate. So when they suggested this as a product to promote, I said, yes, send it to me immediately. I want it. We have another heating pad that is similar to this. It's electric, you plug it in, but it's really designed for your back. Whereas this heating pad, you can have it draped over your shoulders. So you can do it like this. Dun, da, da, da. You can have it over your arm, which might be really nice after a really long knitting or spinning session. You can drape it over your feet. Today I'll drape it over my lap, but I really wanted it because I could tuck it in under here, under my belly, and really get to the source of, you know, my assailant on a monthly basis. So I'm really, really excited to have this. And it's weighted also. It's full of like these weighted beady things. These are all technical terms. But anyway, thank you so much to Bob and Brad for sponsoring this video and for sending me another fabulous product. I love their hand massager they sent me. I love their eye massager they sent me. I love the mini massage gun they sent me. And now I love this heating pad. So thank you so much. If you want to check out the Bob and Brad portfolio of products, I highly recommend them, specifically this heating mat or heating pad, however you want to call it, as we get into the chillier months. If you want some assistance being cozy, why not give this a try? So now that I have officially achieved peak coziness, we'll get started. This actually worked out great for me because I don't know if you know this, but it is stressful for me sometimes to figure out how to incorporate promotional like excerpts in my videos. I only promote products that I love and that I enjoy, but still there's like this element of feeling like, I don't know, I just never want to come across insincere, so I do kind of agonize over incorporating product sponsors, but that really just happened organically. What a treat for me. All right, so let's get started with today's podcast. This is episode 66 of my weekly podcast. And another exciting thing is that it's the first regular podcast in a while, because really my last regular podcast was at the beginning of October or maybe the end of September. Way back when, a million years ago, before I went on this year's Irish knitting tour. And then when I got back from Ireland, I had a few weeks where I was just uploading the recap vlogs of the trip. And then last week, I uploaded a really, really fun episode 65, which went over everything that I made in October of this year. So if you haven't watched that episode, I must say it's a fun one. I had several hats to show, a couple skeins that I spun, and then I also went through all of the yarn that I bought in Ireland. So like I said, it's a fun one to check out if you haven't watched it yet. But all this to say, I haven't had a weekly update for you in a while, so this is exciting. And I don't really have that many projects to show you. And I'll tell you, I momentarily thought, don't do a podcast, Rachel. Figure something else out. But then I watched a few podcasts this morning, and like Jackie from Jackie is Making, she had 2 finished objects and 2 whips. And I was like, hello? That's what a podcast is all about. You're sharing your knitting, whether you have a million, bajillion, gazillion projects or you have -5. People want to know. I mean, I assume. I don't know. Why are you here if you don't want to know? Are you hate watching? Get out of here. Go touch grass. Anyway, I hope that you're not hate watching, and I hope that you will enjoy hearing about my project. So all this to say, dang, every time I'm like, you got to get to the point faster, Rachel, and then I never am able to rise to the occasion. Focus. This episode is going to cover my making progress from November 1st through the morning of today, November 10th. Some things are kind of blurry because, like I said, I've lacked the weekly structure for a while, so we're just going to do our best. But we'll start with project updates. So, since I saw you last week with the Everything I Knit in October video, I have made a few Sophie scarves. This is a pattern by Petite Knit, and this is now, well, this green one is now the 4th Sophie scarf that I've made. And actually, there's a bit of a funny story and a learning moment for me in this project. Let me go back in time to this summer. Earlier this summer, I had 2 knitting tours in Scotland. I hosted those 2 with my mom, and in between those 2, we went to Paris for a weekend because it just so happened that one of my cousins was graduating from college in Paris that weekend. Worked out perfectly. So I got to go to Paris, to France, for the first time in my whole life. So while I was there, I made a Sophie scarf for my cousin out of a skein of Di Gilpin's Lalland DK. If the name Di Gilpin is suddenly familiar to you, it's probably because she is one of the hosts on the current airing of The Game of Wool, which is a new BBC or Channel 4 show. I'm not sure if BBC and Channel 4 are the same, or if it's like, so anyway, Di Gilpin, Lalland DK, in the colorway Storm Petrol, which is this beautiful, beautiful color, like this dark green, blue-green, tealy goodness. So I made one over the weekend for my cousin. I gifted it to her, and then when I got back to Scotland for the second Scotland knitting tour, I got another skein of this from the Scottish Textile Showcase in Edinburgh, and I made one for myself. However, when I made this one, I was like, what's going on here? Because in the pattern photos for this Sophie scarf, people like wrap it around their neck more than once, and they tie it in a cute little knot at the front of their neck. And it's just so like cutie patootie. Where did it go? Here it is. It's just so cute. And this simply did not have the surface area to be worn in that way. So it was kind of limited. Like I could wear it that way, or I could wear a shawl ring and like kind of make it into a little tie. That could work. But I was like, what's the deal, guys? How come your Sophie scarves are so cute and mine is just like a little fart? So I was like, okay, when I make this again at some point, I maybe will change the increase rate and the decrease rate so it's longer. But then time passed and I grew smarter, faster, stronger, wiser in the interim, and I was ready to begin again, to cast on another one. I had this one skein of Yak Silk DK from Treehouse Knits in the colorway Ireland, which is a beautiful, beautiful green color. And it was just waiting for a single skein project. And so I thought, I'm going to try again. I'm going to make another Sophie scarf for myself. For a minute, I was like, I don't need 2 Sophie scarves. So maybe this will be a gift knit. But then I thought, no, this Sophie scarf is not as long as I want it to be to wear it in the cute way people wear it on Ravelry. So I'm going to try again and keep the result. It was at this point, my friend, that I realized the Lalland DK yarn from Di Gilpin comes in 50-gram balls. You hearing what I'm saying? 50 grams. This is a standard skein. It's 100 grams. So this was not an issue with the increases and decreases. I basically was just using half of the yarn that the pattern calls for you to use. So that's why it was so teensy weensy. So I knit this second attempt according to pattern. I think I actually knit maybe one more set of increases and decreases than the pattern calls for, just because I lost count and I went with it. But yeah, this is my finished Sophie scarf, which I will keep for myself. So let's see, if you're going to wear it in the cutesy tootsy way. Okay, so I'm going to cross it in the front and then the back, and then see, look, now I can do it in the cutesy artsy fartsy way that people do. So I still need to experiment with this, obviously, and, figure out how the heck to be fashionable, but I'm very happy with this. So that's my first project that I worked on since I last updated you. And it also led to casting on another one. So I've just kind of been running through my single skeins in my yarn collection, and I've been really on a gift knitting kick. And I kind of want to talk to you about that in detail and kind of, I don't know, open a conversation of where my thoughts are surrounding gift knitting this season. But before I do that, let me tell you about this Sophie scarf. So this is a Sophie scarf, another one. I went up to 38 total stitches before I decreased, so this added a few extra sets of increases as well. because when I finished my Ireland colorway Sophie scarf, I had a good amount of yarn left over, and I really want to work through as much yarn as possible. So I thought, okay, I'll try 38. I'll see. I still have yarn left over of this blue skein, so I think the next Sophie scarf I do, I'll try 40 stitches, and I'll just figure out where the sweet spot is. But this is a skein of Madeline Tosh in the Long Rider DK base, which is a merino nylon blend. And it's a really, really pretty skein. There's different lights and darks of blues in there, and there's even some pinks. And even just like so, I don't know, so cute. It reminds me of kind of like a vintage denim jacket, this colorway. It doesn't have a name because it's a one-of-a-kind colorway. And originally when I grabbed this single skein out of my yarn collection where I was storing it in my little DK box, I thought this would be a classic ribbed hat that I could add to my pile of classic ribbed hats that I'm giving away this holiday season. But as I started working this up, I thought, no, this should be a Sophie scarf. This just isn't the right vibe for a hat. And so I'm going to give this to my aunt, Janice, who likes blue a lot. So just adding to my gift pile as well. So I'm very happy to have this off the needles. Both those Sophie scarves, the plural for scarf is scarves. Anyway, both of those Sophie scarves were nice to knit because I just had them next to my lotus chair in the living room, and I would work on them as we watched TV or we watched football. Just kind of a calming, meditative knit that doesn't require me to look at the pattern, which is actually why I had more increases, because I wasn't looking at the pattern, I was just knitting. At least on this first one. This one I did intentionally. But yeah, both of these have really served a great purpose for me in being, like, keeping my hands busy and my mind calm while also feeling productive and, I don't know, doing what I enjoy, knitting for the sake of knitting. So I'm adding again to my gift knit pile. So let's talk about gift knitting before I show you my third project, which is another classic ribbed hat, spoiler alert. Gift knitting is a very interesting concept. And by interesting, I mean there are a lot of opinions, and I hold strong opinions about gift knitting, and those opinions kind of ebb and flow. They change from year to year, from season to season of my life, from who's in my life at any given time. And I don't know, in the past, I've been very, very adamant at times that gift knitting is just not something I'm interested in. It's not something I'm going to do because knitting takes a ton of time. It is a huge, huge lift in terms of investment of your time. It also can be quite an expensive gift because if you're using hand-dyed yarn or quality wool or a different fiber that's not really, commercially available, that could really rack up the cost. And then to say nothing of if the recipient will know how to care for the item or even if they'll appreciate the item. I mean, you don't want to give someone something that they don't like or care about. And I think that's something I'm realizing more and more as I mature in life, I guess, is that so often when I give gifts, I give it through the perspective of something I like or I'll enjoy, or I love this color, or I love this thing, or I love, this activity. So I'm going to gift this thing to whoever I'm giving a gift to. And since I love it so much, they'll probably love it so much too. But that's not always the case. I don't want my gift giving to be reflective of my interests. I want my gift giving to honor the interest of the person I'm giving to. So anyway, all of these things contribute to like an ongoing conversation in my mind around gift knitting. Sometimes I'm very against it, but right now I'm very much in favor of it because, well, there's a few different reasons for it. A few years ago, my grandfather passed away, and I realized that I had never knit him anything. And that really was a punch to the gut for me, because I felt like, I mean, I know in the grand scheme of things, it's fine. Like, his life was full and rich, and he was a very happy person, had a lot going for him. And whether or not I knit him something did not tip the scales to make his life better or worse. It just, it would have been a thing. It would have been great, but it's not devastating that I didn't do it. But when I realized that he was gone, that I would never have the opportunity to give him something I made for him, that was just so sad to me. So sad. And it kind of started to change my perspective on gift knitting, because I don't want to lose the opportunity to show the people I love that I love them in this specific way. Like, my grandpa knew that I loved him. I'm sure he did. But I would have loved to express that to him through making him something. And I kicked myself that I never did that. So yeah, that started to kind of get the wheels turning. And also, like, when my parents retired, I was thinking, like, their whole lives, they gave me everything. Like, they went to work so I could have everything. They worked hard so my sisters and I could have the life that we did. Like, who am I not to gift knit for, I mean, I don't know. So all of those things were like working around, mulling around in my head. And I just felt like, what is the point of having this skill if I'm not going to share it with other people? Now, listen, I'm not going to feel this way forever. This is just how I feel in this season. And I think that both perspectives are totally fine. And you should honor whatever perspective you have at whatever time you have it. Like, who knows? Next week, next month, next year, I may think about the concept of gift knitting and say, a fart on that. I'm not doing that. I don't want to spend all my time knitting for other people. I want to knit for myself. That's totally valid. And when I get to that place again and I live in that mentality, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to be the bad guy then. Just like I'm not the bad guy now for feeling like gift knitting is good. So anyway, all this to say, let me get to the conclusion I'm trying to get to. I've really, really, really been enjoying the concept of gift knitting and gift spinning this season, because if you look around, you can only see a small percentage, teensy-weensy percentage of my yarn collection here in my craft room. I have another yarn wall here. I have 2 IKEA cubbies nearly full of yarn and fiber. I have a yarn closet. I mean, it's just a closet, but it's full of yarn. So I've got a lot of yarn, and it's overwhelming. And I know that I'm not going to stop accumulating yarn and fiber. I love consuming art in that way. I love buying yarn. I love buying fiber. I love adding to my collection. And I love looking at it. Like, if I never knit it up, I still will have experienced an immense amount of joy from having it in my collection. I'm an art collector, as I'm sure many of you are as well. My art is just not necessarily paintings that I hang on the wall or sculptures that I put on display. The art that I collect is yarn and fiber. Okay, and then I use that art to create my own. So anyway, back to the point. I have so much of this art. I have so much of it. And if I saved every skein that I have in my yarn collection and every braid that I have in my fiber collection, and I turn it into something, I knit a sweater or a hat or a scarf, and I keep those things for myself, I'm going to be buried alive, because I'm not going to stop buying yarn. I'm not going to stop buying fiber. I'm not going to stop knitting and spinning. So if I keep everything, I'm sorry, that's stressful. That is a lot of material goods in my possession that I don't need. I live in South Louisiana. I don't need a library of woolly hats. I don't need a bunch of shawls. Do I need a lot of sweaters? Yes, because I want them. My father might say you're confusing need with want, which was one of his mantras when I was growing up, which I think is wise. But anyway, I need all those sweaters because I want them, and I don't care. So anyway, besides that, I'm just going to keep accumulating, and I don't want to sit on this mountain of pieces I've made and don't use. I would much rather right now in this season, today, share that with the people that I care about. So that's just where I'm at right now. I also want to go through my finished sweaters because there are some that are too small for me, that are not my preference. They're too warm and I just am never going to wear them. So why am I just tucking them away and keeping them hidden in the closet to have no purpose, no use, and no one is enjoying them? So yeah, I don't know. That's just where I'm at. That's just my perspective right now. But like I said, gift knitting is different for everyone, and it's not always the case for me where I am right now. Like sometimes I really spurn the idea of gift knitting, and I think that's fine. Like if you don't want to do it, don't do it. If you want to poo-poo it, you poo-poo it. I think that is absolutely your right to do. Just right now, I'm like looking around at my single skeins and I'm like, I want to make that into a hat. Will I wear that hat? No. So what am I going to do? I'm going to give it to someone I love. So that's where I'm at. That's what I'm doing. That's my thought around gift knitting right now. Okay? How many times do I have to say, but that is subject to change before my anxiety lets me feel you've gotten the point? You know, the fear of being misunderstood is quite visceral. Okay, so anyway, let's go on to my third project and my final project for my knitting portion of this podcast, and that is a classic ribbed hat. If you've been watching the channel, you know that I've been knitting a lot of these recently. I think I have, oh my goodness, not quite 10, but maybe I'm getting close to that number of classic ribbed hats that I've made in the last few months. And I have no plans to stop, although I will say I did get a little bored of them for a minute, which is why I kind of also pivoted to the Sophie scarf. But anyway, classic ribbed hat, adding to my gift pile, and this one is Scrappy. I've just started a color change here on the row on my needles, maybe you can tell. But the part that I've knit so far is made with 2 strands of fingering weight. Well, the whole hat will be 2 strands of fingering weight. But if you can see in this little cubby down here, you can't really see all of them, but I've got a bunch of cones of sock yarn from when I had my circular sock machine out. I still have my circular sock machine, but it's in a box in my closet just because I wanted to reclaim some more surface area in my craft room and make it a little bit more functional and less cluttered and less stressful. So I still have the circular sock machine. It's just not currently in operation. I might bring it out. Like I was thinking maybe for Vlogmas one day, it might be fun to crank some socks, but we'll see if I have the wherewithal to take it out of the closet and assemble it, because that seems like a big lift. But anyway, I have all these cones of different amounts of sock yarn. Some cones have a ton, like that's a good amount on this cone. But some cones have like 20 grams maybe. So what I did last night was I paired a bunch of the cones up and I wound the fingering strands together. So there's 2 strands, it's fingering held double, and I just wound a bunch of cones. Like if you look at the center of this, you can see some of the different colors. So there's some Treehouse Knits, there's some Kimber's Cozy Creations, there's some Clockwork Fiber Co. Oh, what else is there? I can't remember, but just a bunch of different yarns and different colorways. So this first part, I think, is something new or something blue from Kimber's Cozy Creations, held with Practical Magic from Treehouse Knits. And it's a really, really pretty fabric, but now the color is going to change and the something blue strand is all gone, so it will start being lighter. So this is just going to be a totally scrappy classic ribbed hat, because again, I just had these cones sitting here, and every now and then I just am so overwhelmed by the immensity of my yarn collection that I see yarn as being like good for projects I didn't think of. Like in my mind, I was saving these cones for when I have my sock machine assembled again. But then I was like, I can knit them now. I don't need to wait. And who knows how long I would wait, because I don't know when I'm going to have that spark of inspiration to take the sock machine out, assemble it, and get to cranking. So I just thought this was a fun way to use up that yarn. And I don't know if it will turn out to be super ugly or like if the colors will blend well together, but it is what it is, and it'll go in my gift pile. And if no one wants it, then I guess it'll be mine. But I think it'll be fine. And yeah, I've gotten some questions on the classic ribbed hat and the needles I use. I've been using US 4s, which I think are 3.5 millimeters. Is that right? Yeah, US 4s. The pattern calls for US 3s, but that's just a little bit too small for the tension I want. And I don't mean the tension of the fabric. It makes a fabulously tensioned fabric, but the tension of like my hands in practice doing the knitting, doing the stitches, is not very comfortable. So I do use US 4s, and I've used it for all my classic ribbed hats that I've made in recent memory. So even when I'm using Aran or worsted yarn or DK or fingering held double, you know, whatever iteration of that, I've just been using my US 4s. So that is the third and final knit project to update you on for this week. So let's move to Spin Diary. I have 2 skeins to show you that I've spun up in the last 10 days. The first is from Witchfire Fibers. This is 2 bats of Alice. I always have to poke around and see. Can you see it? But yeah, this is Alice, which is from Jess's personal flock of sheep. And I learned a lot from spinning this, and also spinning, I forget which one this is. Rose, maybe? I can't remember. But both of these skeins are from Witchfire Fibers. She owns some merino sheep, and she had bats of their wool available at Flock Fiber Festival. So I got 2 each of this color and 2 each of this color to make as close to 100-gram skeins as I could, or 4-ounce skeins. I haven't weighed the final skeins, but the bats together, I think both colors were a little bit over 4 ounces in total. But what I learned from these skeins is that I don't really love spinning wool with like neps in it. So these don't have like tweedy neps, but there were portions of the bat that like weren't combed through enough and made it a little bit more rustic, which is definitely a vibe, definitely a look. It's just not my preference. So I think I'm going to take that knowledge and apply that to my future purchasing plans when it comes to buying fiber. I'm not sure what I'll do with these, but they're super, super soft and squishy. And I feel like whatever project I pick for these, I really need to pick something to honor these 2 really, really lovely sheep from Jess's personal flock. So that is my skein of Alice that I spun. I finished spinning in November. And then my second skein, I dropped it, is from an art bat as well, or from a bat as well, but this an art bat. What am I saying? It's also from a bat like Alice, but it's an art bat, not anyway. Can you turn on, brain? So here's the finished skein. It is definitely a pink and blue moment, and this is going to go into my gift pile because it reminds me of Sleeping Beauty. And I'm not going to tell you more because I don't know if the person who is going to get this watches or not, but yep, there it is. Something about this spin, which maybe won't make sense to you unless you're a spinner, or unless you can like visualize things in your brain. I feel like if I were explaining this to myself and I hadn't actually done it, I'd be like, I don't know what the heck you're talking about, Rachel, but I'll attempt anyway. So on my first bobbin, this skein, first of all, the bat was kind of a gradient almost from pink to purple to light blue. and kind of going all the way in between. So I split up the bat in two, and then I spun a single that was blue to purple. And then the second half of the bat, I spun the single from pink to blue. No. Yes. Yes. Or whatever, because I knew that when I applied it together, I wanted the blues to be not in the same spot, because then I would just have a huge chunk that was just blue, and then the other half would be pink and purple. But the way that it worked out was that basically when I applied it, the pink and blue was together and the blue and purple was together. So it just made this not only candy striping effect, but so that the skein in its entirety, that was a really bad job at twisting, is like two-toned. So I've got blue section and a pink section. So it's kind of fun. I did briefly consider keeping this because I thought it would knit up super interestingly, but I have so much yarn, I don't need to keep this just out of curiosity. So this will be going to my gift pile for my loved ones who also use yarn. So that's it for Spin Diary, which means we've gone through project updates, we've gone through Spin Diary, and now I have some acquisitions to show you. But I need to gather them up because I forgot to do that. Oops, stand by. Okay, let me get settled back in here, get my cozy heating pad back on, and we'll get started. So the first acquisitions, this is broken, which I'm really sad about. It arrived broken, but I got some specific wood super glue to use on it. But my friend Jonan from Scotland too sent me two Turkish spindles, two Turkish or drop spindles. I think they're both Turkish spindles. Well, they're different, but they're from Turkey. Both of them are from Turkey, and they are antiques. This, she said that she got it from a vendor, and they're 90 to 100 years old. I'm going to need to focus on gluing this back together when I'm not multitasking. But they're hand carved and so old and cool. So I don't really use drop spindles, or I haven't attempted to again since the one time I tried it and was bad at it. So my current plan is to have these on my yarn shelves looking at me because number one, they're amazing decor items. Like these are so special. Like look at this detail. Do you see that little nub in this hand carved spindle? Such a generous thing to send me. Thank you so much, Jonan. So, yeah, I'm going to have them as decor for now until I work up the courage to spin on them, which actually may never happen because they're so special and they're so old. But I certainly wouldn't like get my bearings of drop spindle spinning with those. I would practice with my one from Kromsky and then maybe try on those, but so special. And I'm just so grateful to Jonan for sending those to me. Like, are you kidding me? Incredible. So kind. The other acquisitions that I have, fiber. Lots of fiber from Long Dog Yarn. These didn't all come in the last week, but I didn't show them on the podcast last week. So she has had some Over the Garden Wall in stock updates recently, so I got a few. I got two skeins of, or two braids of Into the Unknown on Polworth, which is this really pretty purpley green variegated braid. And I got this braid of One Day You'll Join Us, also on Polworth, because there's green and orange, so therefore Miami colors, therefore a gift for DJ. This goes straight back to what I was talking about getting a gift for someone that actually reflects your interests instead of theirs. Because how many of you do this also? You see a yarn or a fiber that's in a colorway that's perfect for someone on your gift list, or, you know, that you love. In my case, that I smooch and love. And because, you know, you can love someone without smooching them. Okay. So anyway, I was like, oh, there's an excuse to buy this braid of fiber because obviously DJ needs it. Does he? No. But I'm going to make him something with it. So there. And then that was from the first in-stock update Brandy had. And then from the second in-stock update, which was a few weeks ago, I got some more fiber, this time on her heathered merino base. Oh, these colors are so pretty. So this is Into the Unknown on the heathered merino. So here's Polworth and heathered merino. Can you see a difference? I don't know if the camera picks it up, but this one is like a little moodier, a little more somber. And then I got Adelaide, also on heathered merino, and this is going to be a gift skein and a thank you skein for Jackie, because she's going to sew up my Fair Isle project bag, which I still haven't sent her, even though we discussed it in August. But again, my executive dysfunction keeps me from the post office, and that's its full-time job. So this will be for Jackie when I get my ducks in a row to go to the post office. I'm sure that I will spin this before that ever happens. So that's some fiber from Long Dog Yarn. I also got fiber from Treehouse Knits in the Q3 Storytime at the Treehouse Club, but I put it away and I don't know which is which. I just have it in my box of fiber. So I'm not going to show you that. You just have to trust me that they were beautiful colorways. So that's it for acquisitions. Let me just check if there's anything else I wanted to tell you before the next thing I know I want to tell you. Nope. Great. So we're good to go. Let's talk about Vlogmas. So I mentioned last week that I've decided to do Vlogmas, and that is still true. I'm really, really excited about Vlogmas this year. I feel like I'm starting to come into my own when it comes to vlogging. Especially after this year's Irish knitting tour, I felt like as the tour went on, which maybe you sensed as you watched the recaps, I got more and more comfortable talking to the camera and filming in public and yada, yada, yada. Not to say that Vlogmas will necessarily be filmed in public, but I'm just getting more comfortable with the concept of vlogging. So I'm really, really excited to participate in Vlogmas this year. And it just so happens that over the weekend, I got my sticky little fingers on an advent. I didn't think I was going to have an advent this year. I didn't have one last year. Well, Leslie made me one, but I didn't buy one last year from a dyer or anything. And I wasn't planning to this year. But then Lauren from Treehouse Knits put her extras of her advent offerings online on her website, and I got the last fiber advent of the variegated box. So what that means is I'm going to have 9 full variegated braids coming to me in December. I think it's supposed to start on December 8th because is it a winter solstice advent? I don't know. I don't remember. But it's not the typical advent that starts on December 1st. It starts on December 8th, if I remember correctly. And then there's 9 days. Here's what I've decided to do. I might change my mind, but I think this idea is super fun. So you may remember, if you watch Leslie of Knit California, that she has some hedgehog braids that she's split up and like mixed and matched them. So she's kind of going to make like an ombre fade where each skein has like a link to the next. And I just love that idea, and it really got my wheels turning. So I was thinking I could do that with my braids from the Storytime at the Treehouse Club and do that with all 12 braids when I have them eventually. But then when I got the advent, I was like, I know exactly what I want to do. So here's my thought. Tell me in the comments if it's a bad idea, because there's still time to steer clear of this train wreck if you're seeing something that is going over my head. But what I want to do is I want to spin my 9 braids from the advent just in rapid succession. I want to spin the first braid single and the second braid single, and I think those 2 will fit on one standard bobbin. And then the next 2 braids, braids 3 and 4, on another bobbin, and just like go through as many braids as I can fit on my bobbins. And then I want to change out my flyer on my spinning wheel, put my jumbo bobbin on, and just ply together and make huge, massive skeins that are, I mean, ultimately not random, but they're just singles, multiple singles plied with multiple singles. So instead of plying one skein on itself or two skeins on themselves, I will like kind of make a jumble of them. Does that make sense? Because if I spin 2 braids onto one bobbin and then 2 braids onto another bobbin, yeah, then that skein will be made, that will be a, well, will be 400-gram skein, but it will be made up of 4 different. Is this making sense? Am I nuts? I don't think so, but maybe I need to tinker around with it a little bit more in my brain. But I think that's what I want to do with my advent. And then I'll have a sweater quantity of yarn to make something fabulous with. And it will be like, not necessarily a fade, but just kind of like a marled, interesting, like, I don't know what these braids will look like. I've seen the vision boards. They're all inspired by different constellations. So they're like spacey, nebula-y, colorful. So yeah. And I like the idea of just opening that day's braid and spinning it. Like, I don't have to agonize over if it goes with the next thing or which one I should pair it with. I can just go and it will be what it will be, and it'll be a fun experiment, I guess. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know. But that's my plan, at least for part of Vlogmas. Vlogmas is 25 days. I've decided, though, I'm probably only going to go through December 20th, and I'll have a few, I don't know if I'll like upload every day or batch a few days and then upload. I don't know. All I know is that I'm going to participate in Vlogmas, and I'm very excited, and spinning will be a big part of it, as will knitting. And I've kind of like made a running list of different themes I want to do for each day. And I'm just really excited, really, really excited. So I hope that you'll stick around and that you will enjoy following along. But that's it for today's podcast. We had a nice chat about gift knitting, talked about Vlogmas, talked about my projects, my spins, my joy of having the blinds open. After I'm done filming this, I will open this up fully to let as much light in as possible. And I'm just having a great time. It's my favorite season. Christmas is just my favorite. I know Christmas isn't for everyone for many different reasons. Either you don't celebrate that holiday because you celebrate something else, or it's a painful time for you. I totally understand the spectrum of feelings around Christmas. For me, I love Christmas. And like when I was growing up, it was tied to religion for me. It's no longer that for me as an adult, but it's still so like warm, fuzzy, nostalgic. I can't wait to spend time with family this holiday season and just soak it all up. I just love it. I just love it so much. So I hope that this season is being good to you and that you are taking care of yourself. If it's not an easy time for you, I hope that you have an outlet, whether it's your crafting or your community or a combination of the two. But yeah, with that said, I hope you're working on something that's bringing you joy. And if it's not, put it down. It's okay. Take a break, especially if it's a Straya cardigan. Okay? All right. That's all I have to say. So I will see you next time. Oh, wait. Subscribe. Bye.